Please check your answers to problems 1 and 2. Let's ask some questions about that. Did anybody put an actual number 1 in front of their x here? That's okay. That's still correct. Usually we don't write a 1 in front of a variable, but if you put a 1 in here, that's fine. That is still correct. Some of you might have even turned that into 1 over 1, and that's fine too. All right, at number 3, did you get a negative slope? Did you guys notice that that was a negative slope? I would guess that's probably our most common mistake in number 3. So just check and see if that's right. If it's right, put a check mark next to it. If not, I want you to pay attention when we go over that in a second. Let me give the answer to number 4 and 5. No, I don't want you writing these down if you didn't get them already on your own. Okay? This is not like, let's copy down the answers and try and move through this quickly. You need to be able to do these. Okay? We're, like I said, we're just working on the chapter 1 test right now, and there are problems just like these on the chapter 1 test. So if you aren't able to get those answers on your own, that's fine. I expect probably most of you aren't able to get that so far. In fact, we've never gone over number 5 before. We haven't done a problem like this. So I'm going to guess probably not very many people got number 5 unless you've seen this in another class someplace before. Okay, so if you got all of those right, then you can go ahead and work on the back, and then when you finish, start on the homework. If you missed any of them, then I need you to pay attention to me as we go over that portion. Now, if you got number 3 correct, and you want to go ahead and flip over and work on 6 and 7, that's just like number 3, you can do that. And then as soon as I start on number 4, then you're going to want to come back to this and pay attention, okay? So it's kind of choose your own adventure today. I'm going to go over each of the problems 3, 4, and 5. There are matching problems on the back side for those, 2 of each. As soon as you feel comfortable with those problems, go ahead and flip over and start working on the back. But when I come up to number 5, if you didn't get number 5, then you need to stop, flip back over to the front, and pay attention and take notes. Okay, I fully expect that most of us should probably be paying attention on 4 and 5. Okay, now before we get into this, okay, I need everyone's attention right now. Please don't do that thing where you lie to yourself and you're like, oh, I got this, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it, not listen to him because I want to get this done and not have homework over the weekend. Okay, don't do that. If you don't understand this, then you need to pay attention. Okay, you have to be able to do these on your own when we get to our test next week. All right, number 3. I have forgotten the negative on my slope so many times that I've trained myself. The first thing that I do when I see a problem is I look at whether the slope is positive or negative. I'll sometimes draw an arrow going from left to right, and I can see my arrows going downhill. That tells me my slope has to be negative. So I will start by determining if my slope's positive or negative. This is a strategy that I use when I know that I make a particular mistake really often. I will always look for that mistake right at the beginning of the problem. Otherwise, I'll forget to check for it. Okay. So I have made that mistake lots and lots. I check for that first. Next, I want to find a couple good lattice points. Lattice points are points that have nice grid lines. There's a good lattice point right here. There's another good lattice point here. Do you see what I mean by lattice points? Yeah, like the intersections of chicken wire, right? So the place where the line goes through those corners of the grid. Like this would not be a good lattice point because it's kind of halfway in between 2 points, right? We want to pick good solid points. So I pick a couple lattice points and I'm going to make my slope triangle. So please draw your slope triangle in there. And let's count and figure out what our sides for our slope triangle are. So 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. And please make sure you are counting spaces and not grid lines. Make sure you're counting spaces and not grid lines. And then we just have to remember which one goes on the top and which one goes on the bottom. It's rise over run. The 2 is going up and down. The 3 is running. So -2 over 3 for our slope. All right. The other piece we need for our equation is our y-intercept. So I need to look where we are crossing the y-axis. Remember, the y-axis goes up and down. And it looks like we are crossing right here at 5. So my y-intercept is 5. And then to finalize my equation, I just need to put it all together. Y equals something x plus or minus something. My slope was -2 over 3. My y-intercept was +5. So I'm going to go +5 to finish it up. Any questions on number 3? Questions. Okay, we're going to work on 4 now. If you're on the back side right now and you didn't get number 4 correct, I need you to flip back over and work with me on number 4, okay? I'm going to guess this is most of us. Okay, and again, be honest with yourself. I need you to be able to do this on your own. I will tell you that on last year's Chapter 2 test, this type of problem and this type of problem were the most missed on the test. Okay, most of my students, if they found anything difficult, was problems like 4 and 5. So you really want to make sure you got some good practice on this. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to start by writing as much of the equation as we can. We know that the slope is 3 over 4. That's good. We can start writing the equation with that, but we do not have a y-intercept. Agreed? How do I know this point is not a y-intercept? Because there's no 0 here, so it's not a y-intercept. So this is not the y-intercept. We're going to use it later to find the y-intercept. So let's write as much of the equation as we can. Y equals, we know our slope, so we'll put that in, 3 over 4x. And then usually I would have plus some number here. I don't know what the number is, so I'm going to leave it as the variable. I'm going to call it b. Why am I calling it b? I'm calling it b. If you have another letter you'd rather use, though, feel free to use it. Don't use x or y, though, because we've already used those. I'm calling mine b. All right, now what I need to do is take and rewrite that equation without the x and without the y. Because I'm going to be putting some numbers in for x and y. Well, then you don't leave. There's no faster, you don't go. Don't worry about it. All right, so what am I going to put in place of my x's and my y's? Yeah. We need some numbers, and conveniently, we have a couple numbers. We have an x and a y value in that point. Now, make sure you get them in the right spots. It's really easy to flip these around. A lot of my students are going to put the -4 here and the -2 here. Can you see why it would be easy to make that mistake? Because the -4 comes first, so you want to put it in the first slot, right? But that's not right, because which one is the y? Which one is the y number? It's not -4, it's -2. The y value is -2, so that needs to go there, and the -4 needs to go over here. So we just need to solve this equation now, and then we'll know what b is, and we'll be finished. Now, a lot of people get hung up on multiplying these fractions. If you're struggling with multiplying these fractions, you got two options. Number one, get yourself a calculator that'll do it for you. Okay, and most of those calculators that I recommended at the beginning of the year will do it for you. If you're not sure how to do this with the calculator, let me know and I can show you. Number two is just get good at doing fractions. Get good. Right? Now, this one is actually pretty easy. Remember, when you multiply a number by a fraction, all you have to do is multiply it by the top number and divide by the bottom in any order that you want, okay? So let's work through this. Think through this with me. What is negative 4 times 3? Negative 4 times 3 is, well, it's not 12. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. So we did the top, and now we have to divide by the bottom. It's negative 12 divided by 4. Negative 12 divided by 4 is, come on, guys, help me out. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. So this whole thing just becomes a minus 3. When you multiply a number times a fraction, you multiply by the top number and then divide by the bottom number. It's that easy. And it's actually even faster if you do it in the opposite direction. If I had gone, check this out, follow along with me here. Let me get everyone's attention, please. Eyes up on the screen. Look up here, look up here. What if I had done negative 4 divided by 4? What's negative 4 divided by 4? Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. And then times 3 is negative 3. And that would have got us the same answer. So you just have to divide by whatever the bottom number is, multiply by whatever the top number is, in whatever order you want. It's not that bad, okay? If you're feeling afraid of fractions right now, you need to get to the point where you're okay with it. And again, if you've got a calculator that does it for you, you're welcome to use it. All right, we're almost there. We need to just solve this equation. I want to get b by itself. Right now, it's got this minus 3 hanging out. What's the opposite of minus 3? So we'll do plus 3 on both sides of our equations. That's going to cancel out. Now b is all by itself. Oh, wonderful. What is b? Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So b is 1. So now we can finally write our final equation. We almost had it done from the beginning. We were just missing the b. So let's write out our final equation. We already knew that it was 3/4 x. We just need this b at the end. Now we know that b is 1. We put that 1 in there and we're good to go. Question was, can you use the green packet on the test? Answer is yes. And we put 2 examples in our green packet just like this, didn't we? In our other notes section. Or I did anyways. I don't know if you guys did. I asked everybody to put at least 1 in there. All right, we are now moving on to number 5. Number 5, we have not done a problem like this at all in this class. So unless you've seen this before. Oh, did we? Oh, okay. I guess you did it on the homework. Okay, well, I'm going to do it again. If you already got the right answer and you know how to do it again, you're fine to ignore me. This is a lot like the last problem we did, except we don't have the slope. And are either of these points y-intercepts? No, neither points are y-intercepts. So what we're going to do is first we'll find the slope. So I'm going to write myself a little note here what I'm doing. I'm finding the slope. And the way that I've showed you at this point to find the slope, and there are, by the way, many different ways to do this. I'm showing you the one that works best for most of my students. But if this isn't working for you, let me know. There's like at least 3 other ways to find slope from 2 points. Eventually, we're going to teach you the slope formula. But for right now, I think this is easier for most people. So you take the 2 numbers, take the 2 points, and stack them on top of each other. I think it's easier to do if you stack them. And we're going to find our change in x. We're going to find our change in y. Now we got negatives here, so we got to be really careful with our signs. But think about it for a second and tell me, if you were going to go from -2 to -1, would you be adding or subtracting? And how much would you do? From -2 to -1, are we adding or subtracting? We're adding 1. How about from 1 to -2? That's subtracting. I'm going down by how much? Subtracting 3. Can I get everybody to pause for a second and double check those two things? Really easy to make mistakes at this point. This is where people will make mistakes. And it's unfortunate because it's right at the beginning. And if you make a mistake here, then everything's going to be wrong, right? So double check. When I go from -2 to -1, I am going up by 1 and not down by 1. Is that right? And when I go from 1 to -2, I'm going down by 3. All right, so let's find our slope. Our slope is change in y over change in x. So we've got -3 over +1. Our slope is -3. It is very easy to flip this fraction over as well. That's another place where I would stop and double check. Is this right? Is it y over x or is it x over y? Are you sure it's y over x? What are those two R words that we use for slope? Rise. We know it's rise over run, right? We've heard that a million times. Is change in y our rise? If I change my y coordinate, am I rising? Yeah, if I change my y coordinate, I'd be going up and down. If I change my x coordinate, am I running? Yes. Okay, so it is change in y over change in x. Okay, so then let's write our equation. Y equals, I know my slope is -3. I know we got an x after that. I'm pretending I don't know what the answer is yet. Oh no, I don't know what b is. I don't know what my y-intercept is because they didn't give me a y-intercept. So I'm going to have to write plus b. Oh, that means I'm going to have to solve for b again. That's okay. We got this. We've done this. We just did this, right? I'm going to rewrite this equation without any x's and y's. What am I going to put in for x and y? You want to use the -2 and the 1, or do you want to use the -1 and the -2? So let me tell you, there's no wrong answer here. You can use this point or you can use this point. Which one looks easier to you? I would probably go with this one because it's got 1 negative instead of 2 negatives. I stay away from negatives because they cause me mistakes. But you could use this one. You're going to get the same answer. It doesn't matter. All right. So my y was 1. My x was -2. Pause and check yourself. Make sure you didn't flip those around. That's a really common mistake. And then we can simplify. That's just a 1 equals, what's -3 times -2? 6 plus b. And then we just need to do one quick step to solve for b. This has got a +6. What's the opposite of +6? -6 on both sides. Cancel. 1 minus 6 is -5 for b. Now we got everything we need to write our final equation. We already knew the slope was -3, but we just figured out our b was -5. And I wrote plus. I'm going to erase that plus and change it to a minus because it's a -5. And there's our final answer. All right, your task for today is to finish the problems on the back side of this. There are 2 of each type that we just went over. When you're finished with that, I want you to go ahead and start on the homework assignment. I'm going to put the answers up on the board for the problems on the back. If you are finished with the ones on the back, check your answers. Your attention, please. We are not turning this in. Okay, we're not going to turn this in, but I want you to get it done before you leave today. If you made any mistakes, see if you can fix them. And if you're not sure how to fix them, will you please get my attention so I can help you out, okay? Some of you might need me to go over one more example with you, and that's fine. I'm happy to do that. But you got to ask, okay? All right. And one last announcement.